Hey there guys, welcome back. Today we are covering Vivi as a commander, and what were they thinking when they printed this guy. So we are 3 mana, we are 0/3 with a very powerful ability, pay a 0. Add X in any combination of blue and red mana, where X is Vivi's power. Activate only during your turn and once during your turn. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a 1/1 counter on Vivi, and he deals 1 damage to each opponent. So the idea is you spell sling away, Vivi gets bigger and bigger, damages the whole board while you're doing it, and then once per turn you can cash in mana equal to his power. That is not abusive or broken at all, is it? 2 cards we absolutely have to mention are Voice of Duality and Harmonic Prodigy. Both of these double the trigger effect of Vivi. So with the Voice of Duality, whenever you cast an instant sorcery, if it triggers an ability of opponent control, do it additional time. So Vivi gets 2 counters and does 2 damage. And the Prodigy says whenever a wizard triggers ability, trigger it again. So exactly the same thing. Vivi grows bigger, does more damage. The Kelermorph turns Vivi's 1 point of damage into each opponent into flat 3s, basically lava spiking everyone. The God of Storytelling, every time you cast a spell, add 1 red to your pool and it doesn't phase away. Good way to kind of bank mana during the length of the game with her. So the 3 cards with Vivi, which are a must have, these are in your win condition, they are just insane. Curiosity, Ophidian Eye, and Tandem Lookout. All 3 of these have whenever you deal damage, not combat damage, just any form of damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. Vivi hits 3 people at the same time in a 4-player game. You draw 3 cards with any of these, so we have a lot of tutors, a lot of ways to get to these, of course. So a must have in this deck is the Uzlith. Every time a creature you control leaves the battlefield, you can stockpile its counters onto it. When you go to combat, you can move the counters from the Uzlith onto your creature again. It helps with Vivi dying, removal, whatever. If you had some progression on him, you can stockpile that progression for more mana production later on. Or in your main phase, 1, go to town, play all the spells you want, activate them, keep going, doing everything you need, build up as many counters on them as you can. Then the last spell, bounce them back to your hand with Snap, Chain of Vapor, whatever you want, and then you can recast them again, and because it's a different instance of Vivi, you can activate his ability again for more ramp and just keep that cycle going. The Hull Breacher is a really good card in this deck. It's like a half combo or a full infinite combo if you want. On its own with Vivi, every time you cast a spell, pick mode 2, which bounces an online opponent back to its owner's hand. Just dismantle everyone's board state, key threats, whatever. You'll probably win the game through that alone. Or go infinite with any mana rocks that are net positive, produce more mana than they're worth. So Sol Ring, Mox Amber, and Mana Vault, and you just keep playing one, bounce other one back. When you do it, you float the mana, you're just getting all this infinite mana, and you can just keep looping it, and Vivi will do infinite damage, gain infinite counters, and just kill the board there with it. Yeah. Give Vivi Infect, why not? No one's going to see it coming. If it stays around long enough, you just put 10 effect counters over everyone, which is pretty easy in this deck, and you just win the game. Another win condition in the deck would be Crackle with Power. You do 5 times whatever X is in the Big Burn spell. With all the natural pinging from Vivi himself anyway, even you say X is 5, that would be 25 damage to each target. You might be enough there to kill people outright with the amount of production from Vivi as well, pretty easy to do. 1,000 Year Storm basically gives your instant sorceries Storm, but only based off instant sorceries. It kind of just makes the game really fun, chaotic. You can make, I don't know, like 10 copies of Serum Visions if you wanted to, and you just dig through your entire library. It makes sure cantrips become like big, deep dig spell of the tutors nearly. Sigil of Sleep, very similar to Hull Breach. Every time your creature deals damage to your opponent, you can bounce the creature they throw back to the owner's hands. It makes Vivi able to unsummon a creature from each opponent every time he pings them. We do have our Storm cards, Brain Freeze and Grape Shot. Brain Freeze to mill someone if they've got way too much life and we can't burn them out, or if they're like something preventing them dying from damage, we'll try and mill them. Grape Shot, traditional Storm burn, you know how it is. Rattle the Crackling Wit, the Otter variant. Every time you cast it on a creature, pretty much the whole deck, gains a loyalty counter. His -10, draw 3 cards, you get an emblem, instant sorceries you cast have Storm. Why not? Okay, just your general spell slinging cards. I've gone with every blue cantrip pretty much we have. Start of Hand, Preordain, Opt, Consider, Serum Visions, Brainstorm, Ponder. Jix Probe is great because it's free, you pay 2 life every time. And Treasure Cruise because the Delve will make it 1 mana. Just tons of card advantage here. Urza's Bauble and Mishra's Bauble both replace themselves and they're free to cast. Lotus Petal is free ramp and it's a cast spell. Frantic Search gives us a bit of a rummaging effect, but it's also free because you untap 3 lands. Windfall to refill everyone's hands and disrupt whatever opponents are trying to do. Sea Gate Restoration, God reprint this card, it shouldn't be like 40-50 bucks. Double your hand size, pretty much, and you have no hand size for the rest of the game. Really good in a deck like this when we're trying to storm off. Rite of Flame, Desperate Ritual, and Pyretic Ritual are just free mana, and they're still casting us spells. I love the Will of Jeskai, really good. Choose one, if you get your commander out, pick both. Number one is everyone ditches their hand, draw 5 cards. Again, another Windfall effect, great. But the second option, each instant sorcery in your graveyard gains flashback equal to its CMC. It is Parson of Flames with a bit of like a Windfall wheel effect built in. Great card. And we have Parson of Flames too. Since Vivi produces mana based off his power, if you can spike it for a turn and then activate him, you can get free mana production out of him. So things like Wild Ride give your Vivi 3-0, and you can also harmonize it again from the graveyard, which is another cast trigger. Fist and Flames gives Vivi 1-0 for each card you've drawn this turn, and it draws a card too. So that would be quite a huge buff on Vivi, then ton of mana back in return. And I love Prof's Eidetic Memory. Enters, draw a card, you have no maximum hand size, and then beginning combat on your turn, and this thing stays around and does this multiple times. If you've drawn more than one card this turn, you put X counters onto a target creature control, where X number of cards you've drawn -1. All the cantripping, all the drawing you're doing can really stockpile permanent counters onto Vivi for even more mana production later on. And Spark Double, why not just have 2 Vivis? It makes a copy / clone or something that isn't legendary. So 2 Vivis, double the damage, double the mana production. I just had to double check gifts and given it was unbanned, but gifts, Gamble, Imperial Recruiter are going to go and get our drawing mechanics, so Curiosity, Ophidian Eye, and Tandem Lookout through the Imperial Recruiter, because key to the deck, just fueling all that card advantage. In addition, we run Dizzy Spell, which in a weird way could be some protection if we needed it to, but it's to transmute into Curiosity and Mystical Tutor to get counter spells, particularly draw spells, maybe like Sea Gate Restoration, whatever you need. It's flexible for this deck. In terms of removal, we've gone with just counter heavy, very cheap, aggressively costed non-creature counter spells to protect us from disruption. So an Offer You Can't Refuse, Swansong, Fluster, Counterspell, and the Fierce Guardianship. I hate that thing's like 40-50 bucks. I run Telepathy to gain information. It's a cheap spell, it's a non-creature, so we care about it. But it lets us see everyone's hand at all times, so we can see are we clear to go and try and combo Storm off. In addition, it just annoys people because they have to play with their hands revealed, and most players will shuffle their board state forward and put their hands on the table, just kind of, annoy them more. Lightning Greaves and Mithril Coat are just purely protect Vivi, no brainer. You might not be able to win this turn, but you could stockpile a ton of counters onto Vivi and get them ready for mana production. You could have another turn straight away. You don't get to untap your lands, but you might be able to, get Vivi big enough that it doesn't matter and you can win next turn. So Save of the Moment could be a really interesting, I can maybe win next turn freebie spell. Not including the mana rocks I mentioned earlier that are net positive, we do run Arcane Signet and Talisman of Creativity for colored mana, Wayfarer's Bauble to get a basic and thin the deck, Spirit Guide for that free mana from your hand, absolutely. Great in your opening hand, getting Vivi out way earlier than you should. Lands worth mentioning, Riptide Laboratory can bounce a wizard back to its owner's hands, Vivi is a wizard, protection from removal, board state, stuff like that. Reptile, no brainer. Mistrise makes it hard for your opponent counting your stuff, definitely worth having. Mystic Sanctuary can get an instant sorcery back on top of our library from a graveyard, probably counter spells, whatever you need. Sephard Colosseum is just draw 3, ditch 3, why not? And then in terms of actual mana lands, anything that can filter the deck is really good. It prevents you drawing just basic lands or lands when you don't want them, you want to draw more cantrips, more draw spells. So the more fetch lands you can put in the deck, the better. So I've got Polluted, Flooded, Scouting, Fable, and Evolving Wilds is just my entry level fetch lands, but the more you can cram in, the better. And that is Vivi. I still can't believe they printed this little guy. He's insane. Might be the #1 commander from the set, I reckon, for a lot of people. His abilities are just powerful. He can tackle the whole table, win very early on. He fits into any other red-blue Izzet deck. Even Temur with green and counters can become quite abusive, so he fits into a lot of other decks, definitely going to be sought after. What a great little guy. Alright, thank you for watching. Give the video a like, it helps out the channel a lot, all that engagement. Please consider subbing, we are going for 5k subs, we're getting very close. And thank you to my patrons, I cannot thank you guys enough for your direct support. And I think that's it. Alright, see you guys, ta-ta.